All right, I just hit the record button. I just hit the record button. I'll have to say that all over again. We're going to do a review of P5 drawing to shapes. This one should be kind of fun. That's your first project. P5 is just like all of your projects broken up into different parts. And then we're going to take a look at project structure, right? Because we can't put everything on CodePen, especially if you saw my message in the chat. CodePen, like all websites right now, are really struggling. So things got posted to Canvas. So the conditionals. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Is there any administrative stuff or any general questions that we should just talk about? I'd rather talk about my coffee cup. I got a brand new coffee cup. I'm picky about cups, and this is the best cup I've ever had in my entire life. And I just wanted to talk about it over and over again. You're like, get to the point, Colin. All right. Nothing? Nothing?
So what makes this coffee cup so good?
Josh, do you know about the Le Creuset pans? The
No.
cast iron. Le Creuset. Here, forget about that for a second. It's thin. It keeps heat well. Okay, it's basically it's an enameled cast iron cup that's microwavable and dishwasher safe. And if you know anything about cooking, there's like your parents and grandparents probably had one of these cast iron pots. They last forever. Okay, it holds heat well. It has a great texture and finish on it. It's a perfect size. That is annoying. So sorry you have to hear me slurp my coffee. But we can talk more about it. Oh, the handle is flat. That's important. And the lip is really small. You notice cups are like too thick. Why is a cup so thick? Exactly. They don't need to be that thick.
Is it to help insulate the liquid?
Right. But can it be thin and also more insulated or better insulated? That's what we're going for. It's super thin and super well insulated. Oh, y'all, I'd rather talk about cooking. All right, let's get into this. First off, let's go ahead and go to the course site. Thanks for entertaining me, Josh. I appreciate that, especially at this time in the morning. Also, I've been told by my family I'm really loud, so if I need to lower my volume, please let me know. I'm still working on my at-home voice here. All right, so from the course website, we're going to go into this link right here, P5JS. So again, we're using P5 to learn programming foundations. Should everyone learn how to code? I've said this a million times, no, no, and no. Then why are we learning this, Colin? If you're going to work in this medium, you need to learn how to code, right? Because our medium is made of code. So I think P5 is a great introduction to some of these concepts. There's a great series right now by people who make all the TED Talks, and I'll link to that. It's interesting. Basically, they're going to take the topic of conditionals, and they basically made a 5-minute like animation. It's like, how do you explain this with story? It's very, very good. All right. All that said, let's get into the P5JS. Okay, and again, we're going to be taking a look at coding for visual designers right here. Okay. All right, so let's skip to Friday's pen. Okay, so Friday's pen, you're gonna make something similar to this, right? What you're gonna do for Friday's pen, okay, and again, all the dates on Canvas. I made a note that says, just get it done. Like the due date is not gonna affect your grade on this. I want you just to be able to draw, like, so think of any abstract art or just draw with these primitive shapes. What we're learning here is basically how to use a reference and how to use an API, right? I'm teaching you that, but in a more fun way. Right? And I think this is a great example. Just draw onto the canvas with all these shapes. They don't have to be animated. Okay, so are we good on what's expected on Canvas? Thumbs up.
Yep.
All right. So there's that. All right, back into this. Okay, there is this reference here. Oh, whoops, I didn't link to it. If you go to LinkedIn or LinkedIn Learning, what the heck is that website called again? There's a coding for visual designers. Okay, coding for, it should be my history somewhere. Yeah, this is a great reference. Colin, I need a different voice. Okay, hearing your voice for many, many hours is too much. There's this course on Lynda that you can also use. It's okay. It's not bad. I'm on record saying it's okay, but it's the same topics. It's the same subject matter. Just approached differently. So today, if you had trouble, need a refresher on getting set up with P5, they'll walk you through this. So good. So there's that reference. Okay, so essentially, every project has a set of references, and here's one reference. All right, we've already talked about why P5 is awesome. We've already done the basic setup. Okay, all right. Did we create a P5 template? Anyway, did we? Because I didn't see one in my pens. Okay, so let's go do that. Let's go to CodePen. All right, let's go back to the CodePen homepage, and I saw we're gonna need to make one. All right, so from the CodePen homepage, you're gonna just go ahead and make a new pen. I'm gonna delete the one that I just made here. All right, so from the CodePen homepage, you're gonna go ahead and make a new pen, and you're gonna call this thing P5 template. Okay. All right, so we know we don't need any HTML for P5. So we're done with that. We don't need any CSS for P5, right? We could if we wanted to style our page, right? And we know we have this basic setup here. And if we take a look at these pens right here, we're not gonna rehash previous lecture, but if you go to the basic setup, we have the setup method, okay, and we have the draw method. So I'm just going to copy and paste that, okay, like so. And I'm gonna leave imagination stuff. Again, okay. Now if we hit save on this, we don't get anything, right? If we hit save on this, we still get this P5 template. So, right, so conceptually, what's missing here? I copied and pasted, Colin, I copied and pasted and it doesn't work. What do I always say? Debug it, right? Let's go open this debug mode, right? I'm gonna do this until someone tells me, and then I'm gonna pop this open, throw open the console, right? Why isn't this working?
You haven't imported the library.
Perfect. All right, so what Brian said, that is fundamental for week 1, week 2. Like, we could type here all day using all these methods, and they're not going to do anything. So we're going to go into here and add in P5. Now this is tedious and cumbersome, and we shouldn't have to do this for every single project or every single pen. Okay, and at the end of the class, we're going to set up our framework to use this, right? Because again, we're not hosting our final project on CodePen, right? It's going to be on GitHub and deployed with Netlify, all that same stuff from Web 1. All right, let's go ahead and hit save on this. And then under settings, CodePen move this. Let's go back to settings here. We're going to go to template. Okay, and then we're just going to turn this on. Okay, so you're going to turn on this template setting. And basically, what you're going to be able to do is create a new P5 pen, right, without having to go through all these steps again, and make a lot of templates. This is one of the nice features of CodePen. You can go ahead and hit save and close on that. Okay. All right. We're not in the professor pen, so yeah. We're not in the professor pen right now. We're making a new pen. We're making a template pen. So if you did that correctly, okay. So again, the question, where is this code coming from, right? Under our basic setup from previous classes. So I would go to, again, each class builds off on the next one. So the answer to both those questions is this pen right here, this basic setup pen. Yeah. Again, what we don't want to have to do is rewrite setup and rewrite draw every single time. You can define your own canvas. You can define your own canvas color. Basically, you're trying to create a template to make all of your pens. Okay. So pick any color of your choice. So now that we have that, we can go back to the home page here. All right, let's go back to the home page. And then under, we're not going to create just an empty pen, right? But we're going to create a pen from template. And notice I have 2 P5 templates, but that's fine. I'll just get rid of one. Good. Throw up a, right? We're good in here? Okay. If you're falling behind, right, just go ahead and follow that link and just fork it, right? And the big thing here is you're going to go into settings and turn on template. So notice when I click on new pen from template, okay, it has everything that I need. Okay. And that's the big thing. A major concept for Web 2 and in Web 3 is using stuff that you can't see, using stuff that you know is there, but you can't edit it, using, right? Abstracting it away. Okay. All right, all that said, let's get into this. All right, so what I need you to do now is let's go ahead, settings. So Arial, if you go into a pen, go into settings, there's a template, right? So if you make a new pen, settings, template, settings, template, settings, template. All right, and toggle template on and off. Okay, real code, quick CodePen thing. If you want to go to codepen.io/dashboard, okay, it has all of your pens, so you can see that. You can search by project and post, and even templates if you need to. So, okay, well, let's get into this. So first, next let's go ahead and open up the Master Professor pen, and let's get our refresher here on variables. All right, so I'm in the Professor pen. I'm going to pin this tab. All right, so if you're falling behind today, okay, go ahead and you can always refer back to this P5 page, right? We're just gonna go through this today and I'm gonna explain it, make sure that we can do it. All the code is basically here. I'm basically gonna be copying and pasting my own code and just trying to explain it. Okay, so we took care of creating CodePen templates for P5 check, right? We're gonna make another one when we use a different library. Another library we're using is just a heads up. If I'm losing some of y'all and you're kind of bored, don't worry, right? GreenSock is fun, right? Take a look at all the fancy stuff GreenSock can do. Okay. Right, we're going to be able to make animations like this, and we have a really fun project for this. So just hang in there. But for us to understand GreenSock, right, we're kind of slowly working our way to this. Okay, we're inside of the Master Professor pen. We have our template ready to go. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at variables. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and draw a basic CodePen or basic P5 template. Okay. And I'm going to get a darker color here. How about pound 333? There we go. All right, so we got this darker color. And whoa, almost spilled my coffee. All right, so inside of here, we have 2 ellipses, right, or 1 ellipse, okay? And we know that there's an X direction, a Y direction, and then we have D and D, okay? And those are basically the kind of the sizes of each ellipse. So the first thing we're gonna do is just go ahead and draw a standard ellipse size, okay? And we can come in here and say, like, what do I have here? 75, okay? We can go 75 and 75 and 75. And now this is all well and good, right? But we want to have more flexibility, and we want to be able to change the stuff later on, right? Draw 1 ellipse there. And then if we wanted to draw another ellipse in the similar location, right? And we saw that we can use JavaScript. What's it? JavaScript arithmetic operations. Okay, we can just add in like 25. to each of these, and it's going to push it over to 100 over, 100 down. Okay. And of course, if we want it to be bigger than double the size, we have to take the width, which is 75, and multiply by 2. And this works, right? But now what happens if I want to change the size, right, of any of the circles, or in this case, the ellipse? Well, this gets tedious now. Now I have to take into account all of the math. I said, we just want to double the size or go to a different location. And to do all of that, right, this is where variables come into play. Okay? And this is what we need to understand with all variables, that you're just storing this to be able to reuse later. Okay. All right, so now that we have all that, let's go ahead and put our variable names back. All right, so y is going to be the y position. Okay. And then we have the diameters of these. So first off, let's go ahead and take this first one. And I'm just going to simply declare our variables. Okay. And we can do that outside of both the setup and the draw method. Okay. And so right up in here now, instead of saying 75, 75, we say, you know, this is going to be my y position. Okay. And who names these? You do. Like, you can call it y position if you wanted to, right? You can call it, you know, diameter instead of d, but you can make up any, you know, other than as you saw in your homework, right? There's all those reserved words. Can I make a variable called variable? No. Can I make a variable called var? Can I make a variable called JavaScript? Somebody tell me. Why not? Some of your homework.
One of their keywords.
Yeah, one of the keywords. Thanks, Corey. Right, it's reserved. Right, JavaScript's confused. Like, no, you can't name it. You can't name a variable something that you're already using. Okay, good here. And so, you know, you want to make this as succinct and as clear as possible. So, a good rule of thumb is write variable names like you're going to look at them a year from now and they make sense. Y position and diameter is great. And so now what we want to do is swap in these positions now. And so now what we can do is just change the variable values, and this can be 600 and this can be 80, and we've changed every instance of our circle. That is really, really big. All right, how about I double this? 120 and 160. Okay, and now we're adjusting the size of our circle programmatically. Right, and I know we're 20 minutes into class, but we need to understand this concept. Like, we're not adjusting things manually. Right, designers, be programmatic. This is key to Web3. If your clients are calling you to change something on the website, that's not programmatic. Right, if you're manually listing out all of the students in the department of design, you're not being programmatic. What we want to do is make one template for one student, and depending on the number of students, right, the machines, the computers can output that for us, and that's what we want. All right, we're good here about being programmatic. Okay, and variables help us do that. Thumbs up. All right, so now we can draw multiple ellipses of different sizes, right? And when we make a change in one spot right here, right, that change is applied everywhere. Ooh, that's a big circle. Good. All right, so that is our longer than I expected refresher on variables. All right, no questions on variables? Okay. All right, so don't mess up my pen. All right. Okay, so let's get down here into part one. So the first place to get started with, to make, I guess, learning programming fun is just to use stuff. Okay, I've come around to this idea. I always taught the stuff like really dry and really on the command line, just one line at a time to talk to the machine, and it's not the best way. And so we're jumping right into functions, even though this is outside of the order of your homework. I think it helps us understand what this stuff is actually doing. Like, this has to be, all these things had to be created by someone. Someone had to make an object called web browser and web window and click and mouse cursor and text for us to be able to use that. And I can't stress that point enough. Like, this isn't magic. and this shouldn't also be intimidating. Like there's a spectrum here. And the first place to start is like we have this piece of code that we can reuse over and over again. This is what I want us to understand. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at 2D primitives. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and draw these basic shapes. Okay, so into the the professor pen. I know I'm trying to stop saying master professor. All right, right here, right? There's a method somewhere inside, deep in the bowels of P5 that says what a background is. And like I was trying to show you, we added this Lego piece. Okay, this is P5 source code right here. There it is. It's all here. And if we take a look for, there's a word called background. Okay, and inside of here, there's probably something called, let's see here, what shape did we just use? Rect. And this is the point I'm trying to make, right? There is an object somewhere inside of here called rect. Okay. Good. And like these things had to be made. Right now, when does this become a computer science class? When we start making our own libraries, when this is our class. Right, when we're making tools and libraries for other people to use. When does this become a design class? When we use the tools and the libraries that other people have made. But we need to understand those tools too. All right, so I say all this because I want to rehash what we're doing on week 1. Don't find this stuff. Find a balance between, you know, intimidating and what's it? Intimidating and what's the other end of the spectrum of intimidating? I forgot that one. All right, real fast. Let's go ahead and line, triangle, rect. Okay. Again, these are all methods inside of P5. So what I'm testing for is you can go into the reference and say, I don't know how to draw a line. Great. Say it again. I don't know how to draw a line. Great. Oh, this is running slow today. You need to be able to use a reference. You need to be able to use every dictionary for every library. Okay. We're memorizing very, very little. Right? We're learning the process there. So here's line. Here's a reference for that line. Just make sure that we can understand this. Okay, and we come down here and goes, what are all these friggin' numbers? Well, we have to use this method called line. Here's the x position, the y position of the first point, the x position, the y position of the second point. Oh yeah, now I remember. Okay. All right, so we got that. That's going to be our line like so. Right. And this is kind of what I'm looking for. Like this pen right here is demonstrating what I'm looking for in your first drawing. Just put shapes on screen, have fun with it, change the canvas size. Like really get used to drawing with P5. And before we can animate stuff, we have to be able to draw stuff statically. Okay, line, rectangle. I don't know. I think this part is kind of dry, right? And we've already rehashed it. Do I need to go over this anymore, or can we move on? Thumbs up to move forward. Okay. All right, we're moving forward. If you need a refresher on this, again, office hours, let me know. Okay. If you need a refresher on this, you can also take a look at this this tutorial right here for coding for visual designers if you need a different voice. All right, so those are our 2D primitives that we looked at in last classes. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at shape properties now. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you all the stuff to take care of this first part, right? This first part of our project. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the shape properties. So the first one is stroke weight. So we have a basic ellipse that we're drawing like so. Okay. Save. All right, so there we have this ellipse is a perfect circle. And if we wanted to make it not look like a circle, we would change the width and the height of this. And then we can say stroke weight, and stroke weight takes one value, right? If I remember. Okay. And this is a whole integer, right? I forget if you can do halves. Let's try 1.5. Yay, right? So there's 1.5, 3.5. So it doesn't take an integer, it can take a Boolean floating number. All right, so stroke weight is one way for you to change your drawings. All right, next we have stroke join and stroke cap. Now, these things are really hard to see when your drawing is small, right? But if you increase the size of any drawing, right, you're going to be able to see how these are different. Okay. So let's take a look at this real quick. If I zoom in, can you see? Can you also see?
Yeah.
All right, great. So you can see one is beveled and straight and the other one has a rounded corner. And those things aren't really useful until you make the stroke weight much, much bigger. So we're gonna 40. Okay, and if it's too far, of course, they're gonna be rounded off. But all right, do you see now the round and the bevels? Right, so this is great, designers. Like, this is the devil in the details. Like, we can see like down to the pixel how this should look, and we know the UI differences between rounded and beveled. Right, Colin, what are some of the other ones? And my answer is always going to be the same. Let's take a look at the documentation. So back into this. What was I just looking at? Stroke. Which property was this? Stroke join. Okay. And while we're here, we're going to take a look at stroke cap. Okay. Here's miter. Here's bevel. Good. All right. Stroke cap is the same thing. Like when you're making arrows inside of like PowerPoint or Keynote, okay, you put these the square caps. But where's the arrow cap? Right. And this is the point of using a reference. Like, the arrow cap doesn't exist right now. Like, if we were to put in arrows, this thing isn't going to work. Okay, that means we're going to have to draw our own line that is square and then draw a triangle to match. So if you want to make an arrow, you're going to have to draw that, right, and put those into place. Good. Thumbs. Oh, we're losing them today. Right. Here you can see that. And again, to see this, we got to make it much bigger. Okay, so there is the first shape properties. All right, more fun. All right, so what I gave you is here how to paint with gray, okay, before we actually even get into color. So notice right here that we're specifying the background, and this is what I wanted to make note of. Notice we're specifying the background and the setup, and this is no different than our CSS specificity, right? First, the browser paints the background white, and then we come in and say, no, we want it to be a different color. Well, the same thing is happening here. This color is actually painted, but then in the order of execution, it comes down to here and says, no, now I'm gonna make this thing black, right? And we can see this if we change the color again. So just be aware of that, right? Again, red is not a variable, so that means I have to put red into a string, okay? All right, so don't forget about that order of execution. Now this is gonna be important when we start using our strokes and our color fills. All right, so let's go ahead and paint with gray here. So instead of doing that, oh, just messed up my pen. All right, fill ellipse. What did I write? Medium gray. Oops. All right. First, we're gonna make an ellipse. Okay. Like so. Any ellipse in any position. Okay. And then we're gonna simply use the fill method. Okay. And the ones that we need to know today are fill and no fill. Again, fill takes in integer values. This is just going to be 51, 51, 51, right? Because it's the shortcut for these RGB values. We can use hue, saturation, lightness, name, color values, hexadecimal. We'll get into opacity here in just a second. All right, so we got this color fill. We're going to do a fill of 204. And again, that's essentially 204, 204, 204, but programmers are lazy. Okay. All right, so there's that fill. Okay, all right, so the same thing here, we have fill, and I'm gonna comment this out. We also have no fill. All right, so there's fill. All right, any questions on fill? None. Just yell it out again. The Zoom trick is hit spacebar and just start talking. All right. It's easier for me if you just yell out in class. All right. So we have fill, and then of course we have no fill. So again, same first thing. We're gonna draw an ellipse, like so. Right, and watch the order of execution here. Okay, so watch what happens when I put no fill before or after. How can we actually see that? Okay, so there's our ellipse, right? We did no fill, but watch what happens, right, when we actually turn this thing off again, right? So we're gonna draw this ellipse, okay? And then we're gonna turn off, there's no fill, and then we have stroke, and whoops, sorry, I'm confusing no fill and no stroke. All right, so there is no stroke, right? Watch what happens when we actually turn it back on. I'm getting my pens mixed up here. Oh, right. And we draw the ellipse again. Okay. You can see the difference there. Come on, CodePen. Oh, CodePen is so slow today, y'all. Yes, I'm saying that on record. But I gave you that heads up before class. Okay. Good there? Okay. So we have fill, no fill, stroke, and no stroke. Like all common stuff. Okay. Now, what you need to know is what came first, right? Was the stuff inside of Illustrator and all those vector drawing programs first, or was the stuff on done in code first? Okay. So take what you already know, right, and apply it to this. I'm saying on record saying this is a really boring lecture. All right. We're already good with draw of color. Let's go ahead and set transparency. Okay, so this is that fourth parameter, a good way to do this. So we're going to draw a shape like so. Okay. Because we still need to do our Web 2 template. Today's lecture is going to kind of run long because we're missing stuff from the previous class. So before we do that, does anybody need a break? We're going to go like another 15 minutes. All right. Just say yes, we need a break. All right. All right, so let's take a look at this, right? Let's pretend, we don't know how to set transparency on a fill. Well, we can come into here and find the fill property. And to set it, we're going to take a look at the documentation. It says basically the last argument, right, is the alpha channel. And then that's, now instead of being 0 to 1, it's 0 to 255. Mm-hmm. Can you hear this? I need to be, give me 1 minute, everybody. Why don't you take a 1 minute break? I'll be right back. Except I don't know what one to do with that. They have the little government. All right, y'all, I'm back. Sorry about that. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so then that's that fourth value, and this is what we need to understand. Like, we're not the ones that made this library, and for us to be able to use it, we have to follow someone else's rules, and this is true of any JavaScript library. Okay, even JavaScript itself, it's someone else's rules, right? When Brandon I made JavaScript, he's like, these are the rules for JavaScript, and we've just been adding to those rules. All right, so it's a number between 0 and 255. I wish it was between 0 and 1 like CSS, but it's not. So there is the full color. Okay. And of course, if we do comma, this would be our alpha channel right there. That's our transparency channel. Okay. If we just do a 1, right, it's going to be a very, very low alpha, right? But if we do a 255, okay, it's the full. Right? It's right. So 1 is basically as close to 0 as possible, and 255 is all the way up. Okay. And halfway to that, I wish it was just like 50%. That would be a lot. That would be a lot easier, right? But we could do 255, right? If we wanted half of 255, what easy method could we do? What two methods could we use to wrap up this lecture to get half of the alpha, half of the transparency? There's two methods that we have covered, and then we're going to be done with this. We can move on to conditionals. I'm going to pace back and forth on my phone pad until someone says something. I want half of 255, but I want to be programmatic about it.
Just put a little /2.
Perfect. Both are right? That cacophony of noise is absolutely right. So thank you, Corey and Josh, right? We can go have to, boom, right? There's that. The other way to do this is to simply create a variable up here, okay? And we can create a variable here called transparency, or TP for short, maybe. All right, and we can assign that whatever we like. In this case, would be 255, right, divided by 2. Right, and instead of writing the number in, we can just write TP for transparency. Probably a better value for that. All right, there you go. All right, let's get into conditionals. So before we do conditionals, let's go ahead and wipe this clean. Okay. The best way and I forget if your textbook talks about this or not. Choose your own adventure books. The choose your own adventure books are the best way I've ever been taught conditionals. Like, all right. If you don't remember, books are these. No, just kidding. All right. Basically, a choose your own adventure book is you read, and you get to the end of a chapter. Okay. All right. And it says, go on path A or go on path B, and you get to pick which way you go. And the book just kind of goes into. It's been so long, but it goes on different paths depending upon which you choose, and that's a great way to take a look at conditionals. And hopefully the example that we're going to make here is kind of fun. All right, so first off, let's get into the dry boring parts about conditionals. Go ahead and pop open the console. Okay, and why I want to do this is I want us to understand, like, at the syntactic level, like what JavaScript actually wants in your conditionals. Now, normally in class, I would write a loop that just never ends. And I don't want to do that because I would break your computers and mine, or it would just be in this endless loop. All right, so let's take a look at conditionals, and lots of different types of conditionals. And we're just going to use an if statement right here. And so the order of execution, if we go console.log here, this is always going to show up, right? If we go to console.log, okay. Like, this is always going to show up because as soon as the page is loaded, or as soon as the page is loaded or a change is made to the pen, okay is going to show up. Okay. So what we want instead, right here, CodePen. Look how long it took CodePen to pop that up. I'm going into debug mode here. All right. What we want instead is to say, don't just do okay all the time. Okay. What we want is to, again, make sure you check logs. Okay, is for okay to only show up if these conditionals are true. So we're going to do if, and left paren, right paren, and then curly brace. Okay, and I know, really dry. I went through the homework. I got this. Well, just bear with me here. All right, so if we hit, so for the only way this is ever going to show up, if everything inside of these curly braces, and the curly braces act as fences, okay? So basically anything inside of this fence, anything inside of this block, okay? Technical term is block. Anytime inside of this block, if it's not what? If it's not true, right? Okay, this will run. So if we hit save here and refresh this, right, we're still gonna get, right, okay, because it's true. Oh, true is not defined. Oh, we have to, so this whole thing has to evaluate to true. I think it has to be lowercase. There, right? Sorry, it has to be lowercase. Notice I put all caps. It yelled at me. So there's the only way for okay to show up is if true. So this is truthy. Now, if I put this as a false value or falsy, okay, if I put false in there, we're never going to see this, right? Never going to show. Ever. Ever. Right? That's never going to show. Right? Because this is saying, well, this is always going to be false. Right? It's basically going to go from line 7, line 5, and just skip over this entire block. Okay. So, but you probably don't want that. We probably don't want something that's never, ever going to show. Right? But this illustrates this idea of a conditional. Okay. All right, so the other thing is we're gonna have a fallback, right? Just like in our choose your own adventure, you can go in path A or path B, and path B is denoted with else. And there are many, many different types of conditionals. And so when you're saying, you know, what are we learning here, right? Learning about this idea of conditionals, and whatever programming language you use, right, there's gonna be different ways to do a conditional. And there's lots and lots of different ways. All right, so that's console.log true statement. This is going to console.log false statement. Okay. All right, what is true? Oh, is Colin. All right. This is the example I was using in class. Is Colin high? Right. The other one here is saying this is going to be a hacker. Right. Alert. All right. So again, this statement here has to be true. Right. So what example am I trying to show? Well, if it's not me, okay, you're going to alert this message, right? So we're going to go ahead and use this. Right before all this, what I want you to do is make an alert message real fast. All right, these are annoying, and I'm telling you how to do this so you never use this in terms of user experience. There is a method called alert, okay? And you can alert really annoying messages like this, right? It's basically a pop-up. And notice that CodePen is like, I don't even want you to make this pop-up, but good. All right, there's how you make those boxes. Don't make them. Okay, they're pain in the. All right. Also, this before we had console.log, this was all we had to do. We just everybody's life was popping up these alert boxes. Okay.
What if you want to tell somebody that they're the 10 millionth user and they want a free iPad?
Yeah. How else are you going to do that?
Exactly.
How else are you going to steal other people's info? All right. So we're going to do alert hacker. All right, Josh, I want to add to that, but we're under time here. All right, so again, if this thing is true, right, it's gonna say, hi, Colin, you know, right, is Colin, check, all right, hi. But if it's false, okay, oh, and again, we can go right into our console here. And we can make these changes, okay. Oh, and another time, I'm gonna go change this back to false. Okay, and then rerun this again, it's gonna say not me. And this is where our variables come into play. So up here, you might have a variable called login. Okay. And now what we're doing is we're checking for login. Okay, so this is what we're checking for. All right, so if login is equal to, right, COLIN, right, a string name. And so login, and we're going to use our operators here. Okay. And so now instead of being one equal sign for making the thing on the left the same as the thing on the right, we're going to do two equal signs. Okay, and actually check for. We're just basically saying, you know, login has to equal this value of Colin, right? Otherwise, it's going to throw up this error. So right here, up at this, there's a variable here called login. All right, and with my name, I hit refresh, and yes, it is me. All right, now what happens if someone logs in with something else? Right, they're going to use fake Colin. Right, we're going to get this alert that's going to pop up. I'm looking at the time here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up with conditionals. Okay, and then I'm going to have to record the creating our Web2 template, and our Web2 template is like our Web1 template, right? The same. So that's probably a good thing to have recorded anyway. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to be a 2-hour lecture. Okay, good there. Now, show of hands. All right, show of hands. Is this going to work if I make this a capital C? If I make this a capital C.
No, because the strings would be different.
Right, that's it. Right, but Colin, programming is dumb. No, programming is the talking to the machine. Right, you're talking to the computer, and you know, adding +1 and counting from 0 and lowercase c and capital C, those are all stuff that's a part of program that we're just going to have to get used to. Okay, good. All right, and so that's our conditional. Okay, so now what I want to do is do this very, very simple conditional of a mouse press. Okay, so here's a conditional that we're going to be using, right? If we hover over this, it redraws this circle. But if we press it, right, we get a black circle, and this is how you draw. Well, on Web3, we make like a Pictionary game where you draw and clear the canvas, right? We're not really clearing the canvas. We're just painting it white again, right? We're not erasing stuff. We're just painting white over black or painting black over white, right? Okay, so we're going to use this. So now we have this knowledge. Like, okay, so how do we do this? Well, let's go ahead. First off, let's just not draw an ellipse. All right, so starting from scratch here, let's get practical now. How do we actually apply this? I'm gonna take all of this out for the time being. Okay, and I'm gonna take all of this out for the time being. All right, so we have this canvas here. So basic stuff, right? This is straight from our templates. We have this canvas. It on the screencast, it's better if it's darker because we can see it. All right, so then we have these two variables called mouse X and mouse Y. Where the heck did that come from? Not Colin. Where the heck did that come from? Not you, not the browser, right? It's from P5. So we're going to come in here and we're going to see that, look, we have all these mouse movements. So this is what I mean by not using what you can't see. Okay. You don't want to have to write the code to track a mouse cursor. That should already be a part of a drawing library, don't you think? If we're going to use a date library, right, to show dates, we don't want to have to write in the leap year. We don't want to have to write in weekends, right? That should already be a part of this. And this is a lifelong skill that I'm teaching you right now, is the idea of evaluating any library that you see. Have some expectations. There's some expectations of what you should have. Let's say you have a social media library, right, to add in a social media feature to your website. You should have the ability to like and dislike something, right? And if it doesn't have those features, it's probably not a good library. So here we have mouse X and mouse Y. And so what P5 says is, man, writing a mouse location is kind of a pain, right? Tracking there's, you know. And so they basically said, hey, we're going to take care of this for you, but not move, sorry. Right? P5 is basically going to say, hey, we're going to track the mouse for you. So to do that, we can use a simple console.log here. All right, we're going to console.log this out. And we're going to console.log out mouse X and mouse Y before we do anything else. And then pop this open into our debug mode. And all right, be careful here. So what we're taking a look right now is the default frame rate of P5. And if you notice in the lower right-hand corner, like your browser's kind of mad at you, but this is how many times it's redrawing the screen. Even though I'm not moving it, P5 is redrawing the screen for me. And every time I move the mouse cursor, look what happens to the coordinate points. So conceptually, what's happening here? They're variables. When I move the mouse to this location, it stores that location. When I move the mouse to this location, it stores that location. When the mouse cursor is standing still, it stores inside of a variable the location of where the cursor is. This is what we need to understand, right? We don't need to understand what mouse X and mouse Y is because we have a dictionary to look that up. What we need to understand is conceptually, how are these things working? And conceptually, how can we reuse these concepts? Okay. All right, good, good. So there you go, right? You can see all the mouse cursor. Right? Okay. All right, so now that we have that, let's go in and apply this. All right, so we're going to get rid of that console.log now that we can see this. So there's our ellipse, and we can draw a basic ellipse. We can say 100 and 100, right? Right, but we want to say is draw the ellipse where my mouse cursor is. Okay, draw the ellipse where my mouse cursor is. So we're going to go ahead and substitute in mouse X and mouse Y. Okay, all right. Before I move on, is everybody clear on this? Instead of being 100 by X 100, Y 100, we're saying go to where the cursor is and draw. Okay. All right, so we hit saved. Okay. So there you go. It's redrawing it every single time. Yeah. And already you can see, right, you can kind of guess, well, how would we do this if you didn't want to see the previous one? Basically, paint the previous one, but I just wanted to show you the trails. Good. All right. Any questions on this part? So take this mouse cursor, right, and redraw it. And if we wanted to make it smaller, we can just cut this in half. 40 and 40 for your project this week. What I'm asking you is not to use anything dynamic. I just want a static drawing. Just demonstrate to me that you can put shapes on a screen. You can put text on a screen. All right, so there's that. Now you want to say is, hey, let's use conditionals to actually add some interaction to this. All right, so we're done with mouse X and we're done with mouse Y. All right, so now we want to say, before we do that is, okay. And so what P5 says now is, well, why on earth would I want to, right? P5 is basically saying, well, I don't want to create this thing called a conditional because this already exists inside of JavaScript. Again, I need you to understand this concept, right? There's this thing called conditionals, right? And people who make add-ons for JavaScript like have their own expectations of what should be included, and their library shouldn't have conditionals. So what we need to understand today is, where does JavaScript start and stop? Where does P5 start and stop? And later on, we're going to say to ourselves, where the heck does JavaScript start and stop? And where does Greenstock start and stop? Okay. And this is what we're learning. And we need to be able to make these clear distinctions. Otherwise, we're just copying and pasting and not knowing what any of this is doing. And that's not what we want. Okay. All right, so we can do that same thing right here for console.log. Right, we're in console.log if this thing is mouse pressed. Okay, so let's do that real fast. Like, is this mouse pressed? Okay. All right, so false, right? I haven't pressed my mouse, right? And you can hear my new mouse. Good. Now I'm holding down the mouse cursor right now, right? And you can see how many times it's refreshing this page. So every time it's saying true is when I'm clicking the mouse cursor. All right, so now we have that. So it's now, instead of just painting this thing, the fill to 0, right, you can even have it draw a different shape, right? So if mouse is pressed, right, oops. So let's see here. We can do an ellipse there, and then could this be a rect instead? Is it rect? I can't remember. Make it small. All right, circle, 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 rect. Circle, 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 rect. Good. All right, and there we go. We're done. All right, so we took all of our concepts and we asked ourselves, what can we do with these concepts? At the same time saying, how does all this stuff work? Yeah. So again, I'm going to record creating our Web 2 framework. Right? It's just adding JavaScript to our Web 1 framework. It's the short version. Any questions? I'm stopping the recording.
Does mouses pressed work for both the left and right clicks on the mouse?
I don't know. That'd be a great question to look at the P5 documentation. Yeah. Let's try it. I guess it would depend on how you have your mouse cursor set up. My mouse cursor is set up to do control click, so yeah. In Web3 classes, you can hijack all the events on all your input devices. Like you can remap your keys. So technically, Josh, yes, you could. You could remap everything to do it.
So I see that with the ellipse, it originates from the very point of this very center of the center of the ellipse is the point of the cursor.
Good eye. Good
But
eye.
for the rectangle, it's the top left 0
Yeah.
coordinates.
Right. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember what the origin. I believe somewhere in the docs it'll tell you how to set the point of origin.
Okay.
So Corey, yeah. I'll have to find it.
Okay. Didn't know if it was like a simple thing we could learn right now. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And you can set that globally too. So
Oh, okay.
for all of your shapes, because you don't want to have to do that for every single shape.
True.
So so a quick question: where would we put that code inside of setup or draw?
Set. If we wanted to do it globally, it would be setup, right?
Perfect. You understand. Good. Anybody else?
Yeah, mine was drawing in the last one, but the mouse pressed is not drawing at all. And I have everything just copied and pasted after what I put in.
And you have P5 installed?
Yep.
So what does your console say?
It says nothing. A lot of false on the console.
A lot of false.
Yeah.
Paste your pen into the chat and we can debug it as a class.
Okay. Oops.
You were missing. That might do it. Yeah. Your console.log there at the end on line 19. Ariel.
Yeah.
You're missing a semicolon.
Oh.
To end the statement. And now it's should be true. You're also not drawing any shapes inside of. Oops. Let me put that back.
What did you say your issue was?
I think it was it was just missing the, what's it called? The semicolon.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm laughing not at you, I'm laughing at the ridiculousness of this. It's not parsing this out. So watch me, I'll put it back the way it was. See how it's all false now, even though I'm clicking. No,
Yeah.
it's working. Were you clicking? It's because it's working now.
Yeah, I was clicking.
No, it's working.
Okay.
Yeah, it's correct.
Weird.
Brian,
Okay.
ignore.
I still have the base, like even without the semicolon, and it works.
Yeah, Brian, ignore what I just said there. Yeah, no, it still works. I'm bringing this up on the console. Ariel, was your question? It was not drawing the shape.
Yeah. When I clicked down on it, it wasn't drawing anything.
Good. Tell me why. Look at line 17.
For some reason, my numbers aren't showing on for which line is which. So let me count.
You have the answer to this.
Oh. Okay, did I just do it? Let's see.
No, look at line 17.
Yeah, it's commented the ellipses.
So it's not
Oh
going
my
to drop
gosh, yeah.
because you commented it out.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah, but again, right? That's why we're talking to the machines. The machines are very, very specific. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not.
okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, you got this. Anything else? Oh, I have to stop recording. I don't know how to do that. Oh, I can't stop recording until I stop sharing.
All right, have a good day, Colin.
Good.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day. Stop.